Alright, what's up YouTube? This is Gearhead again, coming at you on a Saturday in North Carolina. Nice warm day for a ride. This will be my second video for my motovlog. See if we can get going here. Alright, in my first video, I kind of mentioned that I wrecked my first Harley Davidson. It was a 2012 Fat Bob I bought in January of 2020, which most of you know that was the beginning of the pandemic. Bought it on January 4th, 2020. And it was about 40-45 degrees when I went and picked it up. I rode my Yamaha V-Star 650 to go pick it up. About an 80-mile round trip from the dealership. Rode it home, parked it. If I can remember correctly, that was on a Sunday. After that, I set it in the garage, and again it was January, so it's kind of cool outside, especially that time of year. And then the Saturday following that, I think it was going to be like 70 degrees. So of course I wanted to jump on it, take it for, you know, not a first ride, but other than the test ride and the ride home, it just sat in the garage because the weather had been so cold. But that morning, it was Saturday, I had to get up early. I think I had to be to work around 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was riding a backcountry road back and forth to work every day, whether I was on the car or motorcycle. Never had any problems before when I was riding my Yamaha. So I took off from the house, got on the backcountry road, taking my time, running about 55 miles an hour. That was the speed limit, nothing crazy. Again, it was my first Harley, so kind of feeling the bike out, seeing how it rode, changing gears, what gear it liked being in at what speed. And about, I'm gonna just estimate 2 miles from where I work, I heard a noise as I was coming around a corner. And when I looked up, well, I was looking up anyway because I was riding, but you know how you glance down sometimes. When I looked up, I saw deer. And all I could see was the back end of one of them jumping over my front fender. That's how close he was. So, just instinct, I grabbed all front brake. Emergency situation, didn't think about using the rear brake or anything like that. I was just trying to stop from hitting the deer. So I grabbed the front brake, kind of went blank from there until I hit the ground. From where the bike stopped at to where I landed was probably, if I had to estimate, 20 to 30 yards after I got done rolling. So I got done rolling, got up, the bike was still on. It wasn't running, but the ignition was still on. So I walked over to that, walked over to the bike, turned the ignition off, and then I started to assess myself. When I looked down, my right knee, my jeans were tore. I could see blood, but when I looked at my knee, I couldn't see any bones, so I thought I was good there. And then I looked down at my left hand, and the portion under my pinky on the side of my hand was swollen, but I didn't see any bones sticking out of my hand either. So, being prior military, that was kind of my little quick triage, and I knew, you know, I didn't have anything bad. I just didn't know how severe my internal injuries were, because when I got off the ground, I kind of struggled to take that first breath, and that scares you more than anything else. This car is going slow. So now I have my cell phone in my pocket. After I turned the bike off, made sure nothing was going to catch on fire, assessed what kind of injuries I had, made the first phone call, and instead of calling 911, I called my wife. Of course, it was 4:45 in the morning, so she was still asleep. At the time, we had a newborn baby. So, and then she didn't answer for us a couple times. I then proceeded to call 911. Got a hold of the operator, gave her all the details. They were able to get somebody out to me pretty quickly. The bike was laying in the road. I'm standing off in the ditch. It's early in the morning, so there's not a lot of traffic passing by. You know, which is probably a good thing, because if I had a car behind me, the car would have probably ran over top of me. So the sheriff shows up. I could tell this was his first accident, maybe motorcycle, maybe all together. Guy looked young. Told him I had some blood coming out of my knee. Looks in the back of his patrol car, gives me one piece of gauze. So that lasts all about 5 seconds before we're soaked through. Directly after that, the ambulance showed up. They checked me out, put me in the back of the ambulance, asked me did I want to go to the hospital. Of course I do. I get to the hospital, carry me back in the emergency area, check me out, x-ray my hand, CT scan. Believe it or not, I didn't hit my head at all. When I guess I was flying through the air. So, got pretty lucky. I got home. You know, the emergency room doesn't do much for you when you're there. So when I got home, I got all my clothes off. Started to see I had a lot of road rash. Knee had a gash in it, about a ½ inch deep. They had already told me they couldn't suture that up, because every time I bent my knee, it would just tear the sutures. And then I knew they x-rayed my hand, said it was in bad shape, but they didn't tell me exactly what it was. So at that point, I had a wrecked bike that I had just bought 7 days prior. 2 pretty substantial injuries. And in the coming months, I ended up having surgery on my left hand to repair the bones that I broke up under my pinky finger. And while they were doing that surgery, they cleaned out my knee, scrubbed everything out of that. Because prior to having surgery, my wife was cleaning it every day. She was getting up with me in the morning before I went to work. Oh, and by the way, I was at work a week later after the accident. So before surgery, before my knee was healed up, I was actually back at work 7 days later. So, you got a newborn baby, you got bills to pay, you got to go back to work. So, I ended up getting fixed up. Got 2 metal pins put in my left hand. My knee just kind of took, honestly, about a year to heal completely over. I guess after the skin rebuilt itself and everything got back to normal, so it took a while. It took a while to get everything healed up. And then while all that was going on, while I was healing, I also was going back and forth with the finance company because I had just bought the bike. And like I mentioned before, it was the start of the pandemic. So I had just bought the bike. It was so new, loan was so new that the finance company didn't even have the title. The state of North Carolina still had it. I did purchase gap insurance when I bought the bike, so that ended up being a good thing. When I initially got the first estimate from Geico on fixing it, if I remember correctly, I want to say it was probably $3,000 or $4,000 to get it repaired, and that was just off some pictures he had took, some information from the guy who towed it. So he was just doing the best he could because he hadn't seen the bike. So I ended up having the bike towed to my local dealership, and after they got done with the estimate, it was completely total. And I want to say the estimate for repair was $9,600. So at that point, the bike was total. I think the front frame tab had been bent, and once that's done, if I can remember correctly, Harley recommends full frame replacement. So bike was total. Didn't have anything to ride anymore. Lost the bike after 7 days. Blah blah blah. You know. Anyway, fast forward to April 2020, after I got everything straightened out with the finance company, got the bike paid off, Gap insurance covered everything. I ended up buying what I'm riding now. It's like I mentioned in the last video, 2012 Street Bob, and that's kind of how we're at the point we're at now. Said all that to say this: when you're riding, you never get too comfortable. I had rode that back road many a mornings, never saw a deer. And actually it's kind of like the road I'm on now: cotton fields, tobacco, and I'd never seen a deer. The first time I take my brand new to me Harley to work on that road, 3 deer run out in front of me. Some of you may be asking, how do you know it was 3 deer? Because I counted them. And when I picked myself up off the asphalt, I could still hear them in the bushes where they were standing there and probably laughing. But I didn't think it was too funny. I was kind of pissed off. Bike I had before was immaculate. Fat Bob, denim black, $1,000 saddlebags on it, ape hangers. I mean, it was decked out. And for such low miles, it was in great shape. So, and when I bought this in April of the same year, you know, I was kind of looking for something with a lower payment because of the pandemic. At that point, nobody knew what the job market was going to be, so I didn't want to get into something with a really high payment. I did want to street glide, you know, like everybody else. Wanted something comfortable, something to do some touring on. but it didn't work out that way, so I got what I could afford. But wrecks really change how you ride, makes you more vigilant, makes you pay attention a lot more, slow down, take your time. And biggest thing, don't ride past your capabilities. I've been with some other bikers before and tried to keep up with them. Obviously their riding abilities were just a lot more than mine, and the more I ride, I've just learned to back it down and just, you know, take your time. There's really nothing you can do about deer. If they're coming out, they're coming out. Possums, raccoons, it doesn't matter. Just like this road right here, I'm sure when it gets dark at night, funny little critters, rodents, deer, maybe a bear running across the road. So again, you just take your time, be careful. So for this video, that's gonna pretty much wrap it up. I just want to tell you guys about, you know, my experience getting in the Harley slash wrecking my first motorcycle. Well, not my first motorcycle, my first Harley. And just lesson learned from that experience. Pull over here. So if you want more content like this, you enjoy listening to me talk, you enjoy the riding footage, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon.